Welcome everybody to anticipated releases for the month of May. My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
I'm Pat.
And I'm Travis.
Nice. You see, it's so nice when people remember their names. Anyway, we got
I'm
a
reading the
month
script
coming
well.
up. I know, it's a good script. We got a good month coming up, and by good month, I mean painfully average like the last couple months, but we've each selected a couple games that we're willing to talk about because there is one that's very important that Travis might mention. That's why I'm going to save it for later. That's why Pat or Mike or me is going to go first.
I mean, I'll just get mine out of the way right away because I just have the one. So my one is another remake because I never have anything original and don't like new games ever, and I just relive my nostalgia of my childhood. Mine is the remake of the Mass Effect series. So I think they're just doing the original trilogy. I'm really excited to play that game again. I'm probably gonna get it because I loved the shit out of that game. I think it's one of those gaming experiences that everyone has to experience, of playing like all three in a row with the same character and then watching it die randomly after you spent 300 fucking hours trying to get the perfect ending. But yeah, I mean, not much to say about it other than it's just Mass Effect, and hopefully it includes the kind of reworking of the ending of Mass Effect 3 that they did. Because they at least made it, like, somewhat satisfying. I haven't actually seen since they redid the ending, so hopefully they have that ending in there, not the original shitty one. But that's really all I have to say about it. I just, another remake, and I hope it's good.
Nah, it's fair. I've always heard good things about the Mass Effect series. Before it started, I'm wondering, Pat, did it have the same effect like Halo did, where like after the third one it started getting like questionable, and then kind of like it was on up, and then.
So the first one was pretty solid.
Yeah.
The second one was really good. The second one is like critically acclaimed. Like everybody loves Mass Effect 2. And then Mass Effect 3 was really good for like 80% of the game, and then it just shit the bed, and then everyone was like really disillusioned with Mass Effect. So when Mass Effect Andromeda came out, a lot of people were like, I don't care. I don't want to play it. This series sucks. And then they proved that by making Mass Effect Andromeda a shitty game. Because I did not enjoy it. I played like 6 hours of it, and I'm like, I can't play this shit. So,
I remember we streamed it too. It was just like, it was like Mass Effect open world, and you're like, no.
Shit sucked.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm excited to replay the originals.
Nice. Mike, mirror you.
I'll go next.
Sweet.
And I'm going to start with the game that I am by far and away the most excited for this month. Period, point blank, end of story. And that is a game that was announced 4 years ago, back in 2017, and then disappeared off the face of the planet for like 3 years, and then they made an announcement, and then disappeared again, and then finally it's being released, allegedly in May. I'll believe it when I have
Metroid Prime 4.
Basically, is basically what that is.
Whoa.
I'll believe
Sorry,
it's out when the game is in my hand.
Cyberpunk.
It's out for real. No, it's called Biomutants, a game that disappeared so much, I'm sure none of you probably even knew it fucking existed. It is one of the coolest looking games, and it is definitely my style of game. It is an open world RPG, but it has the graphics of a Ratchet and Clank or a Ukulele Banjo-Kazooie type game.
That gets me excited.
Yeah, but it's not like the cartoony atmosphere. I actually think they're going for more of a rugged post-apocalyptic world. It is that, and I haven't looked at the story too much because whenever there's a game I'm really excited for, I try to keep it a secret for myself. But it's like this whole new world is like coming to an end, and like I think like the tree inside of it is like bleeding to death, and they need someone to like unite all of the tribes to kind of bring back peace to the land and harmony, is what I've gathered. But it's really, really cool because it is a kung fu style game, unless you go to the Xbox website, in which case it says Wung Fu. Whatever. Typos, and it's pretty funny. Anyway, so it is, but it's very freedom in how you play. So they allow you a lot of freedom in your movement, in the agility. You're a very fast-moving character, so it isn't like heavy combat in any way. Instead, it is a lot more, you're moving quick, and you have a lot of control of each action you take, from the jumps to the running around. There is a good mix of both melee combat and also shooter combat. So you can kind of tailor it to how you want to to play the game. And then one of the cool things about the game is the genetics. You can probably tell by the name, Biomutants, but you basically play as these freakish-looking creatures, and you can alter their genetic code, and it will change what your creature looks like, how your creature acts, its abilities. And if you look at the graphics of this game, it is definitely rough around the edges. It is not a AAA game, so it's not going to be like a, Cyberpunk is a bad example of a fleshed out game, but you get the idea. In terms of, it's not super in depth with how it is. I think it's more meant to be a softer type game, the way that, say, like A Hat in Time is, for example. But it's still a big release. And again, it's something that people have been super excited for so long, and it kind of just disappeared. And one of the cool things about it, and I'm actually going to look right now and double check, but I think it's it's not an Xbox exclusive. I'm glad I checked because I thought it was. But it's also for PS5. So for all the main game systems, but it is a fantastic looking game. If you talk to anyone that knows about this, they will tell you that this game looks like it has the potential to be an absolute masterpiece. But if you talk to 99% of gamers, they will tell you, what the fuck is Biomutant? I don't know what that is. So if you're interested in that kind of open world action RPG that has a vibe of Ratchet and Clank, but in a much more like gritty type of world, I think this is definitely worth checking out. And if it's half as good as I think it is, it's going to be worth playing. Definitely will be choppy. Games like Hat in Time were definitely like a little rough around the edges, but they have a lot of heart. And this game definitely looks like a lot of effort and, passion went into it. And so I'm really excited, and I'm glad that it probably is going to be coming out soon. So if you haven't checked it out, I would definitely recommend it. I'm so excited for this game.
Okay.
Keeping your fingers crossed. I'm guessing just like Travis with Metroid Prime 4, if that ever gets an announcement. Biomutants at least got an announcement.
That is true.
Retro hired a new person. I know that.
One employee. We're moving on.
One employee. That's movement.
Hey, he worked on God of War, so...
I am looking at pictures of this game. It looks really cool.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
So can I make like my creature basically like any spore monster I want?
That I don't know. I don't know how in-depth it is, but from what I've seen, like, there's a lot of variety in the creatures. So I don't know if you can, like, make its head like the fucking balloon and then a long-ass tail. That was pretty awesome in Spore. But, it does look cool.
Okay. Well, I am now interested because I am one of the 99% who had no idea what this game was even a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of came and then disappeared out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Oh, fun fact, really quick, just to take an aside, referencing our last video where we talked about Outriders, people have already broken the game.
Oh yeah, I'm aware of that too.
Apparently there's a Technomancer build that literally caused the server to crash, so that's kind of cool.
I heard the game's just broken already.
Yeah.
So like
anyway,
as a game. Oh well. Anyway, so. I'm going to mention a couple things. First one I actually want to mention is Days Gone getting ported to PC. Really, this doesn't really affect me at all. But recently we had Matt, and Matt's not on here, and Matt actually really enjoyed Days Gone. A couple things I wanted to mention about this. I find it kind of funny that this game is getting a PC release when, at the time of recording this, there's actually a lot of controversy that was happening because pretty much Days Gone tried to get a greenlit sequel for the game. And it didn't really go the best. Sony didn't really allow them to get a sequel for the game. And there's a lot of reasons for it. I mean, there's pretty much like at launch, it wasn't in the best situation. There had to be a lot of improvements. And it eventually built itself into a better game and whatnot. People have played it on like PS Plus, said the content was good. Most of the common consensus was it's not on the level of, say, a blockbuster that Sony likes, like a God of War, a Horizon Zero Dawn, an Uncharted, a Spider-Man. But it was very good for what they played. So it's nice to see it getting a PC release. But the reason that the game was getting, or the game's studio was getting under hot water, because I believe Bet Studios is the people that created it, is because they tried to get a greenlit sequel. They said no, and then you blamed it on people not buying the game at full price. It's like, well, there's starting to be a trend where you're releasing full price or when the game's released at full price, it ain't ready to play yet, or it's not really the expected polish of a full price game yet. So it's like, well, blaming them is not the reason why it didn't get like a sequel that it needed to be. So I don't know. I hear it's a solid game. Matt really enjoyed it, so I wanted to at least mention it here because it kind of is in the spotlight, but also the fact that it's not getting a sequel, so it's not in the spotlight for like the right reasons. But anyway, The other one I want to mention is Rune Factory 5. Not a ton to mention about this game. I'll be honest, I know nothing about the series, but what it seems to do well is this is gonna be an over assumption here, but it does give me like the Ni no Kuni level of vibes. I'm not gonna say it's as good as Ni no Kuni in terms of like the art style and like the endearing characters that it has. But it kind of goes for that kind of style when it comes down to like, say, like character proportions with like their arms and their head and whatnot. So I don't believe it's going along the same route. It is still a JRPG. You can do like combo attacks, nice world to explore. The graphics all look bright and vibrant. And since I'm the JRPG guy, I at least wanted to mention it here. But yeah, it does look kind of interesting. I probably won't be picking it up because I didn't see it really do something too unique to me. And while I thought the graphical style was cool, it didn't really push me to be wanting to go out and buy it. But either way, I've heard decent things about the franchise. It has a very nice art style. Might be worth checking out as long as you're into those kinds of games. So worth mentioning. Yeah.
You know what? I actually should probably do one more too, because I actually have two, and I know Travis just has the one, so I guess I should get another one out there right away. But I'll make this one quick. I'm actually going to change mine. I was going to do Famicom Detective Club, but then I realized, who the fuck cares about Famicom Detective Club? But it is a thing coming out.
That was my one game!
But then I looked back at the list when I was kind of just glancing, and I'm like, oh, there is another game that I'm actually really interested in. I mean, that's World's End Club. I completely forgot this was a thing that was coming out. For those of you that don't know, this is a game that is a lot like, to me, it always looked like World Ends With You kind of mixed with Danganronpa, in the sense that if you look at the story of it, it is basically a game where a bunch of kids are on a bus, I forgot why, they get into an accident, they wake up, they don't know where they are, and then a mysterious voice tells them you're going to play a game where your lives are on the line, and basically they're all like supposed to die, except for just a couple that win. Basically the plot of Danganronpa minus a couple of like trials and screws. So that immediately captivated me, and that's what a lot of people were saying. And it is also a very text-heavy game from what it looked like, so there's a lot of dialogue in it. If you look up like a playthrough from the Japanese or phone version that have been out for a while, it is basically like an hour of cutscene and then like a few minutes of gameplay. And it gets a little better with gameplay later on, but it is definitely a plot-heavy game. And the gameplay is mostly puzzle-based, so it isn't a lot of like running around doing high action. Instead, it almost seems like an assortment of little mini-games that require you to press certain buttons or do certain actions that you kind of have to figure out. And what's cool about it is people can die. So while you're doing things, you know, your teammates can die and you're kind of left with only a certain number of people. And you're kind of trying to at least survive with a couple by the end of that round. Outside of that, I don't know too much more, but it definitely does seem like kind of an interesting, different style of game. So if you're at all interested in like that Danganronpa, more laid back, text-based, heavy dialogue type of game, I think it's worth checking out. It is definitely different than a lot of the games that we're probably talking about when we do this stuff, because not a lot of games come out like this, but you know, if you're interested in that, it is definitely worth taking a look at.
Okay.
It was also mentioned during like the one Nintendo Direct that we did a long breakdown of, and that had nothing interesting to talk about. So
That's true.
It's one of the only games that one of us found interesting to really want to grab. Yeah. All right, and so that was Mike's. Pat, you only came with one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I got nothing else. None of these games seem cool to me.
We're saving yours for last, Travis. Don't forget.
Okay, so Mike is just going again?
I'm going to go again.
Oh, Nick's going to go again.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So the last one, I see your middle finger. I'm going to be talking about one that is Knockout City. This is not really the game that you would expect me to talk about, and it's probably for good reason. It's because I'm not interested in it at all. I just want to see how it's going to do. Knockout City is an EA game. One of those free-to-play kind of games like Apex.
This was that weird dodgeball one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a weird dodgeball.
I remember this in the Nintendo Direct too.
A big release. Yeah, same in the Nintendo Direct.
Yep.
And the reason I want to mention it is I hear very mixed things about it, and when I hear mixed things about a game, it really intrigues me in that way. Not in terms of it's a game that I really want to play, but it's a game that I really want to see people's review of. Because watching the game, and you see a lot of these games that become like really popular games on Twitch. You get like your League of Legends, you get like your, I don't know, like your Dota 2s, your Battle Royale games, your Fortnites, whatnot. Sometimes those games can be really fun to play, but not as interesting to watch. But you see a lot of the games that make it big are the games that are fun to watch. I tried watching gameplay of this game, and I thought it looked really stupid and not entertaining at all. But I heard the exact opposite from people who are playing the game. From people who are, and it could be the fact they're getting paid to say this. Could be. I don't know for a fact, so take this with a grain of salt. But a lot of the content creators I've personally seen have said that they've actually been playing, like when they had like the beta of the game, more often when they weren't having it as like a promotional thing, as like a video or a stream. So it seems like this might be one of the games that's trending, at least in my personal opinion, and maybe it's in a shared opinion of others, where it's a fun game to play, but not a fun game to watch, which is very interesting to me because I feel like that's kind of opposite for what a lot of these big name games like an EA game would go for. Because you would think they would want a game that's both fun to play and watch, because that's how they get viewers, that's how they attract more people to their game. But I've heard kind of the opposite there, which is kind of fun, which is kind of funny to think about. But yeah, so at its core, Knockout City is closer to what you'd expect, like a battle royale kind of game, but it's more of a team game. I believe it's a 3v3. Maybe it has more modes of 4v4, 5v5. The modes that I was seeing people play were 3v3, where they do a lot of different things to make it just not dodgeball and you're throwing it. Like, obviously, you can throw and catch, run around, track people down. Other weird, unique things you can do is you can, like, turn into a ball yourself and have one of your teammates throw you as well. You can, it's done by scoring as well, so, like, you get, like, whoever is the first to get, like, 10 hits or something like that, or 10 knockouts. I don't know exactly what it is, usually wins, but I think the biggest thing that is interesting to me about this game is not the fact that it's probably going to be filled with microtransactions because it's EA, but it's the fact that it doesn't seem like a fun game to watch, but it's a fun game to play, and that's where it's at. I might try it out, I don't know, it's an intriguing concept to me, because usually those things go hand in hand, but it doesn't seem like it's going like that for this game. But hey, I could be the odd one out. It could be fun to watch for other people, but for me, I was extremely bored trying to watch people play this game, and I feel like I'm entertained when people play Fire Emblem, so usually I'm fine with any game that I'm watching. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say about it. Knockout City.
Yeah, this game, I feel like
it's coming to Switch.
It's gonna fall into like Ninjala for me. I feel like in one of those just like little games that exists and people play it, but I don't care. Yeah, it's like it's there, you know.
But I don't care.
Played Ninjala, dude. Ninjala was so boring.
It did not.
I watched it once. I'm like, I don't even understand what the purpose is.
I got first in one of the 8-person rounds or whatever by just pretty much mashing Y, and I'm like, this is stupid. I had bubblegum sword, I had a yo-yo, and I somehow won. I don't know if I was just playing a bunch of bots in the beginning or something, but I was so bored throughout the game. I uninstalled it after the first round. It was not fun. Knockout City, I could see trending in the same way though. So.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do my last one then. The only other one I want to talk about is Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remastered.
Yeah, I know some of those words.
Yeah. There's some words in there. It is
I have a Shin.
Basically, for reference, me and Nick and Travis too have played Persona 5. 2 of us have completed the game. One of us. Oh, Pat has played it too.
Hey, but I've played 12 hours of it.
You insulted the shit out of it and called it a dating sim.
I beat the first palace.
Yeah.
And then didn't play anymore.
You called it a dating sim, so as far as I'm concerned, you're irrelevant. No, so, and it's funny watching Nick play, because Nick's died a few times. I certainly died a few times. We're like, oh, this is a pretty tough game. Shin Megami Tensei 3. It's funny, and just to point this out, they installed a new mode because they're like, our game is way too hard. And they basically said, so we put in an easy mode called Merciful. That is the difficulty of Persona 5. And that is their easy mode in the game, if that's for reference. Because this game basically... Oh, go on, Nick.
I was just going to say, I've known Shin Megami Tensei games for being way more difficult than Persona. Persona's like the easier version and more lighthearted version of the Shin Megami Tensei series. So,
oh yeah,
yeah. If you're talking about difficult difficult RPGs, ones that you want to get your ass kicked, you go for the Digital Devil Sagas or the Shin Megami Tenseis.
Yeah.
Persona is your entryway into those games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny too because I read a little interview and the developer was saying, we want this game to be true to the original, but we also want people to fucking play it, And so they're like, so we definitely need to put in an easier difficulty, and that easy difficulty is just the normal difficulty of Persona. If that tells you how hard this game is, they said it's so hard that it actually turned off a lot of people. So they put that in, and then another cool thing they added in. Those of you that have played Persona games or potentially any SMT games, you have to find save rooms to save your progress. This one has a suspend save feature, so you can save at any point just through the pause menu like normal. Basically just some quality of life things that they're trying to add in so that people aren't completely turned away from this game. I've never played an SMT game, but I have played Digital Devil Saga, and after the first dungeon, I couldn't get past the mini boss, and I never played it again. It was just so brutally unfair. This game is like that, and that is still there if you want to challenge yourself. But then they also put in that easy mode with suspend save, so you don't lose a lot of progress every time you die, but then also there is just an easier mode for you to enjoy the story, as they say, as if it's not going to be hard too. So otherwise, the only other thing I really have to say is it's a lot like Persona. This was the first game in the series that really started to implement what we see in Persona. So if you played the game, they have the once more when you do a critical hit. That is something that you see in this game. A lot of the stuff with demons and kind of this otherworld hellish creatures has always been a staple in the SMT games, and this one's no different. I've always seen these games as more gritty than Persona. Persona is pretty gritty and rough, but it's a little more comical and lighthearted, I feel like, too. Whereas SMT has always been more real. It takes place in a real city. You have real normal people. It's not like a bunch of quirky high school kids. It's always been a little more raw, I feel like. Not that it doesn't take place in high schools, but just kind of the overall vibe is not as comical and quirky, at least from the ones that I've seen. So, if you're a fan of Persona, I think this is worth checking out. I think it's a really cool way to get a look into the series that led into Persona. And it's definitely something I'm going to be picking up and playing at some point. It is freaking long, so it might be a while before I get to it. But it is definitely on my list of things that I have to try at some point.
I think it's kind of funny too when you're thinking of the Atlas RPGs. Atlas has they're like the RPG company, but if you look at the range of RPGs that they've done, they've pretty much created RPGs out of anything that you can think of. With any battle system or not. And I'm talking Atlas was part of the Fire Emblem Sharp FE Tokyo Mirage Sessions. They, again, Persona and Shin Megami Tensei. They also, I believe, did the Alliance Alive as well. I believe we talked about that a while ago. I'll be honest, I hate to say it, one of my least favorite RPGs I've ever played. It's still a fun game, but the leveling system they were going for was something wholly unique, whereas the Final Fantasy II, where they use an item more, you level it up, you use a shield more, you level it up. It's that kind of leveling system, I think, is cool in concept. It just doesn't work as a fun leveling system to even try in a game. But it was there, and I thought it was something really unique. But it's amazing to me the range of the RPGs that Atlas has been, or that has ever created when it comes down to it. So while some of them have been hits, obviously Persona 5, and it's actually quickly growing to be one of my favorite RPGs that I've ever played, actually up there with Ys 8 and Nier Automata. Atlas also creates games like The Alliance Alive, where it's just cool idea, don't really like it as a full game idea. So I don't know. It's cool to see. I've actually always been not always. I've now recently, because of Persona, I should say, actually thought of looking into some of the Shin Megami Tensei games. But yeah, it might be one I'll check out just because. Either that or one of the next Persona games. I hear Persona 4 Golden is cheap on Steam, so maybe.
That's a great game too. I've played that one. I played that one after. It's fantastic.
Okay, well,
it's worth it.
Oh, my backlog keeps growing. Right when I said I was knocking out games too, I was doing good of getting less games in my backlog. Sorry, Travis.
Okay, so
we have an important game.
We're saving me for last. I think everyone was anticipating me talking about this game. Maneater is coming to Switch. No,
Yes.
just kidding. Okay, so what even is
Thank
that?
God, it's finally time.
Right?
Speaking of man-eaters,
Resident
though.
Evil Village. She's a man-eater.
Oh, I get it. I
mean, Maneater actually was one of the games, though, so I was actually pretty proud for finding that and being able to tie it into reality.
Nice
but
connection.
so I didn't want to look up too much of this game because with horror games, you usually don't want to know too much, otherwise it loses a lot of the big spark. But from the little bit of the demo that I watched, it looks fun. Graphics are always... Oh, God! Step on me!
9-foot-tall vampire lady.
Anyway,
Sorry.
I like that Resident Evil manages to always kind of change up the, zombies, because, there's so many Resident Evil games now, if it was the same shit every time, it would probably be stale by now. So I'm glad that,
My favorite is Resident Evil 5.
Huh?
My favorite is Resident Evil 5.
I mean, that's everyone's favorite, right? Everyone likes to shoot, right?
Did you say zombies? Do you mean werewolves? Because fucking there's werewolves now.
There are werewolves now.
My favorite Resident Evil is the movie.
Ooh.
I mean, she's spicy. I let her step on me too. Anyway, but because like I like that Resident Evil doesn't just stick to the typical zombies and all that. Like the werewolf thing, I'll see if it gets weird or not. But like I like that there's like the werewolf vampire theme going on, and I'm okay with it. And I'm sure it's gonna get really weird and freaky once you get deeper into the game.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So
I feel
my
like
biggest question though is how do you progress through the game when you want her to catch you? That's the toughest question that they have to ask.
That's such a good question.
Have to answer.
They'll probably have a second chick who's even hotter that we don't know about yet. And she's on your side and you want to stay alive for her.
Right.
There you go.
It's good planning, Capcom.
But like,
good planning.
All jokes aside, I feel like even though, like the internet blew up with her and like everybody loves her, and she's a meme and like people are constantly like, "Oh, step on me, mommy," shit like that, But like, unironically, all jokes aside, I feel like there's gonna be some real like. I feel like it's actually gonna be scary. Like,
it's Resident Evil. There's no way I'm gonna go through the entire first playthrough and being like, "What the hell is this?" Freaked out and scared, and like jump scares.
I guarantee you, like a couple hours into the game, there's gonna be a jump scare of her like pulling her face off or some shit. Like it's gonna be fucking.
She actually turns into a goat, and then you're like, I found that attractive.
Don't step on me anymore.
Don't step on me, please.
No, so actually, touching on that, there's one thing in horror games that I cannot do, and it like gets me every time, no matter what. And that is when the bad guys are smart and they hide from you and they pop out, and that's what the werewolf enemies do. So if you've like looked at them at all, they basically act like wolves in the sense that they kind of hide out and they wait for moments to ambush you. They're also able to climb structures, so there really is no escape from them. So you're walking around and they might be hiding in bushes, kind of moving around, waiting for like a good time to strike you, which is terrifying because usually in Resident Evil you just have brain dead enemies that are kind of just walking around until you run into them. But this is like the first time they have like something that's a really smart enemy, and I despise that because that reminds me of the alien from Alien Isolation.
Yep.
And
I was just gonna say that. Oh, that shit fucking.
It's the worst thing ever. I hated that with all my heart. Yeah.
If you haven't played Alien Isolation, let me tell you this now: never hide under the desk. Because it'll walk away and then all of a sudden it'll pop up over the desk every time. No, just don't go there.
Really, just hiding in that game was useless. Like
it was
always going to find you no matter what. Like anyway. And so the other thing too about this game I want to throw out there. So I'm a big plot person for Resident Evil. I've played every single one of them. Haven't beaten them all, but I've beaten more than half, and I've tried every single one of them. And I'm really interested in the plot of this one because they're trying to make Chris Redfield look like a bad guy. He's not going to be a bad guy. I'm not falling for that shit. They're just like trying to portray him looking like, oh, I'm going to kill your wife and take your baby and, whatever. I don't buy that.
That's classic gentleman acts right there.
Right. Well, true that. But I feel like the thing is, if he's going to be a bad guy, why would you spoil it before the game comes out? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, he's been a fan favorite literally since like the first game in the series. So I don't think he's really going to be a bad guy. I think they're just trying to tease like, oh, what's wrong with this guy? And then it's going to turn out like his wife had some problem and the baby might be infected. And so, I'm sure there's going to be more to it than just he's a bad guy. But I am curious. And I'm worried that they're using Chris Redfield as like a cash grab here. Like, let's just bring him back in and have him do something. He's old and looks like he's slightly more out of shape and scraggly than he used to be, but let's put him in the game and, like make money off of him. So I hope he has an actual like purpose beyond just being a face that's there. Because we'll see. Because there's so much that people wonder, like, what was he doing during this time? And so, there's a lot of questions. And I hope it's not just we have his name there because it'll sell more copies to original fans. I hope there's actually a purpose to it. So we'll see. But I'm excited to see like what this plot's going to be all about. So,
So just so I'm understanding the the way that they are treating this character right now, you're hoping for him not to get the Kyrie effect, right?
Basically, I'm actually trying to think of like a really good example, and I can't think of any off the top of my head. But basically, like what they're doing is he was out of the games for quite a few games, and people are always saying, "I want him back, I want him back, I want him back." And so he appeared at the end of 7, and now they're like putting him back in. But I feel like he's just there because people asked for it, and they think, "Oh, this might get some of the original fans that maybe didn't like the new style back in the game." I feel like they're just kind of using his name, which concerns me. So if he has an actual purpose that relates to his story and what he's been doing, awesome. I'm just worried that they're kind of putting him in there because fans have demanded it, and they're like, "Fuck it, all right, well, here he is. He took your baby. You happy now?" I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
Nice. You know, I'm not obviously I'm not a horror game person, so
what?
I'm really curious to see. I know, crazy. It's like I haven't played him because I don't like him. Who would have thought? No, but actually one of the things that's cool is that I actually did end up like reading the full like story lore of Resident Evil 7 because I did find it kind of interesting. So. As a game style, it would scare the shit out of me, and I wouldn't be able to sleep well for multiple nights if I end up playing the game. But story-wise, it's pretty neat. So even if you don't like it, you should read the story because I read the story. It was good.
The ending of 7 was really cool.
Yeah. 7 had a great story. I do have one more thing to say before we close this out about Resident Evil Village. And that is, they swear that they just wanted to do this village setting, but I'm calling bullshit. I have a conspiracy. The only reason they called it Resident Evil Village is because they needed the V-I-I-I to fit, and village was the only word they could think of. I'm not falling for that shit. I know.
So, we know what's going on.
It works way too well.
Yeah, that was definitely...
They're using the village was actually a city the whole time!
No. That's a retcon, man. That's a retcon just for the title of the game.
Yeah, anyway.
That's my call on it.
That's it.
So, if anybody else has any other games, surprise games, no? Cool, awesome. Yeah, pretty average month except for, obviously the big important game, Biomutant and Knockout City. Who cares about Resident Evil?
We forgot about Man-Eater on the Switch.
Yeah, sure. We're gonna be showing. We're gonna be showing a trailer for that game for sure. No, pretty average month. Nothing like too crazy. We got a couple games that we're obviously super psyched about that we want to see do well that we're actually gonna pick up. So if there's any of those games that we talked about, or maybe Mike got you interested in that one Biomutant game because he made me interested in it, mark it down below. We got a comment there. We love seeing seeing your words of wisdom, because who thinks that we have words of wisdom? Not me. I don't know where I'm going with this. It's late. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a lovely day. I don't know. Stay golden.
Peace out.
What's their sign off?
Stay golden, my dudes.
Are you okay?
RPGs are for losers. Fuck you, Nick.
Are you okay?
Bye.